'Tis 6:30. We'll go ahead and call this BZA meeting to order. Go ahead and have our city attorney read out the case file.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is case number 2018-204, Blainmar, Inc., for a request for a special exception to allow the use of the subject property as an alcoholic beverage package store pursuant to Article 2, Section 205-19 of the Code of the City of Taneytown. The official file in this matter has the application, which was filed by the applicant, containing a sketch drawing and the neighboring property owners list. The file also has a larger sketch drawing prepared by BPR. It has a bullet point outline about the project, the receipt showing that the escrow amount was paid for this case, the letter to the applicant advising them of the hearing and the general laws involved, the letters to the adjoining property owners, the return receipts showing the adjoining property owners have the letters, a copy of the legal notice which was sent to the Carroll County Times, a copy of the actual Carroll County Times ad, a photograph of the property showing the hearing notice was posted in the property's window. Aside from the hearing file, today's case deals with the grant of a special exception. As you're all aware, a special exception is a procedure that allows a specific use that would not be otherwise approved or appropriate without finding the criteria based on that special exceptions exist. The criteria in play are contained in Section 205-76, the standards, and those are ingress and egress, off-street parking and loading areas, refuge and service areas, utilities, screening and buffering, signs, required yard and open space, and general compatibility with adjacent properties and other properties in the district. That's the criteria for this. Although you also understand that the specifics of this case deal with a liquor license. The liquor license is controlled by the Board of License Commissioners at the county, and the liquor board hearing has already occurred, and a continuation of that's going to occur on August 8th when a decision will be made whether or not to grant that. So if your decision tonight is about the use of the property, not the liquor license aspect of it. So if you don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Alrighty. This evening, anybody who comes to speak at the podium, please sign in. And anything that is stated, you're testifying under oath. And so if we can go and have the applicant provide your opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Record Michael Ritchie, attorney at law, Westminster, Maryland, on behalf of the applicant, Blainmar, Inc., which is the property owner, and South Realty, LLC, which is the proposed purchaser of the property. I call as my first witness Mr. Pulin Patel on behalf of the proposed purchaser.
Hey, how are you?
Mr. Patel?
Hey, how are you, everybody?
Doing well.
Is there swearing in or is he under oath?
Nope, everyone's
under oath.
considered under oath to
Okay,
testify. We would ask that you sign, there should be a list over there, sign the list so we have your name and proper spelling.
Yep.
Mr. Patel, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Pulin Patel, and I live in 1125 Mariana Avenue in Westminster, Maryland 21157.
Okay. And you're here as a member of South Realty LLC, which is the proposed purchaser of the property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the subject of your potential real estate investment is to have this property operate a packaged goods store. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that would be done through a separate entity that will operate the store. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you and your partners are strictly involved with the real estate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this store will be a Class A beer, wine, and liquor store, offering fine wine, spirits, and beer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as the property itself, on the inside, you'll do some tenant build-outs to suit the proposed use. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the exterior of the property, can you tell the board what you're going to do there?
Exterior is gonna be like no structural changes at all, and then we'll just do the parking, like strips and whatever is left because it's old. So, and then the third one was
I believe you're going to paint the exterior.
paint the exterior, yeah.
Okay.
But there is no structural changes at all.
Okay, and you'll be updating and maintaining the landscape.
Maintaining the landscaping, yes.
Okay. And if you know, what would the liquor store's hours of operation be?
As per I know, it would be Monday to Thursday 9 to 9, and then Friday, Saturday would be 9 to 10, and then Sunday would be 11 to 7.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Board's indulgence, 1 second, please. I don't have anything further, Mr. Patel.
Okay. Anybody up here have any questions right now for Mr. Patel?
Do you own this property now?
No, I don't want to.
Nothing is,
They're contract purchase.
Contract purchase.
there's a contract pending. All right. You're also going to add brighter lights. That wasn't mentioned. You're adding new LED wall pack lighting,
Improved lighting.
Improved
wall-pack
lighting, yes.
improved.
And my apologies, I was a bit slow on who does what. So there's a realty group that Mr. Patel's a member of,
Correct.
Yes.
and they're seeking to purchase it.
And they have a
Use it.
proposed lease already in existence to the entity that's purchasing the liquor store.
Okay.
So if this is not approved, if this is approved, they will be purchasing this.
Correct.
And not approved, will not be purchasing it. It's none of my business, I suppose.
I also have the property owner here sitting just to my left, Mr. Martin, who can perhaps answer some other questions you might have.
Okay. So we're good for now? All right. Thank you very much.
Next call, Mr. Ron Martin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You've already signed in, Mr. Martin?
I did.
Okay, very well. You are the principal owner of Blainmore, which is the corporate owner of this property?
I'm the sole owner
You're the
of
sole owner.
Blainmore.
Okay.
We've owned this property for approximately 25 years. And it was my privilege about 25 years ago to bring the sheet store here. And of course it has moved and went on to a bigger store. The property is a good property. It's got ample parking, as you know, and it's good commercial property.
Mr. Martin, how long has the property been vacant?
About 2 years.
Okay. And if you had it listed for sale for that period of time?
Well, I am a real estate broker in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Florida.
So you have it listed yourself?
Yes, I handle my own sales on my own properties.
And have you had any bites, so to speak?
Yes, I did. One of the downfalls was because of the rezoning that I wasn't aware of, and I could not have a drive-through. They were not interested.
I see.
They walked on me.
Okay. And that was the only other serious fire other than the current one?
Yes.
Okay. In your opinion, would this be a reasonable use of the property?
It would be. I think it would fit in with the zoning that's in effect at this time, which I think is town center, if I'm not mistaken.
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have another witness who's not here yet.
Okay.
I have Mr. Bachtel of BPR who prepared the drawing that accompanied the application and is going to be my chief witness as to criteria. And I spoke to him this afternoon and he was going to be here at 20 after 6 and I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay. Possibly we can hold out hope that he'll show in the next 20 as we move on.
Sure.
I do have a follow-up question for Mr. Patel, if I may. So 205-19A says the intent, provide logical locations for retail services needed by neighborhood populations. So my question is, in addition to the spirits, it was also going to be convenient items like chips, cigarettes, other things like that were listed on the application. Okay, so,
That's my fault, Mr. Chairman, I should have had that question. I guess it would be chips, sodas, lottery, cigarettes.
so acknowledging we live in a capitalistic place, so opportunity. I'm just wondering, in a town that's like a mile by a mile, we have several places that provide that already. So if you could please share your justification for why that would be needed by the neighborhood population where it is.
Like, when anybody comes into a liquor store, they just find the conveniency rather than not stopping anywhere else for just the cigarettes. And cigarettes obviously gonna be expensive than the gas station, but it's just a conveniency. We're gonna do cigarettes and then the soda and the chips as well.
Okay. Thank you. You have one?
Will there be any vape supplies or accessories in any way, shape, or form?
No.
So I read somewhere about LED pack light too. Was that for the interior or exterior?
I believe it's the exterior,
Okay.
an improvement in the light.
So one concern I have, as stated, it's a very nice piece of property. A lot of parking in the front. There's also a good amount of space in the back. There's that drainage area. So I'm just thinking of people, there are 3 ways to go in and out. Any thought of, I mean, I guess this could be an issue anywhere, but once again, I'm thinking it's in a more residential area, true, Exxon, New Windsor, dental office, right in the immediate surroundings, but then it's very heavy with residents. Any plans for potential loitering or people who might hang out near the drainage area after they get whatever they want? Sorry.
I don't have an answer about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll try to avoid those kind of stuff. You can say that and try to stay calm and do the, again, we own only the reality, so whatever the operations we just mention in the lease, whatever they need to follow.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Yes.
Backlund has arrived. If you will, take the stand, please. Sorry about that. We'd like you to sign in.
Did you ever have a flat tire? Pouring down rain,
Sorry about
wasn't fun. Was
Sounds
not
like a
fun.
good excuse, doesn't it?
that. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Backlund, thank you for working through that situation. I will note there's no official swearing in, but you are considered to be under oath. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure, Randy L. Bechtel with BPR Incorporated, President and General Manager, Land Surveying and Engineering Company, prepared to plat for Mr. Patel.
Thank you. Approximately how many years have you been doing this sort of work, Mr. Backlund?
35.
And your job description would include working with property owners and developers in relation to zoning applications, processing site plans through Carroll County, as well as all the municipalities located in Carroll County?
Pretty much so, yes.
Okay. And have you testified in front of boards such as this one, as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals for the county and again, various municipalities?
Yes,
And I take it that would be many times over the last 35 years?
many times.
Mr. Chairman, I'd offer Mr. Backlund as an expert in areas of land use and planning.
Yes.
Thank you. Backlund, you testified your firm prepared the plan that accompanied the application, so you're familiar with the site?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And are you familiar with the proposed use which requires this hearing?
Yes, I am.
So the property is in downtown business, is that correct?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. In your opinion, would this proposed use conform to the town's comprehensive plan?
To my knowledge, yes.
Would it be compatible with the existing neighborhood?
Yes.
Could you address the topics of traffic flow, pedestrian safety, parking on the site, and particularly as compared to the prior use?
It would be my testimony that this is a much less use than what was previously there as a convenience store. If you use a trip generation for a convenience store, you're talking about 12 to 1,500 trips, 1,200 to 1,500 trips per day. In a convenience store for every 1,000 square feet of land, retail area, compared to about 175 compared to a packaged goods store or a specialty retail like Mr. Patel's proposing. Consequently, you can see the number of people in and out, the number of vehicles in and out is much less.
In your opinion, would the proposed use have an adverse effect on the public health, safety, or general welfare of the citizens of Taneytown?
Probably no worse than anything else that would go there.
Would there be any dangerous traffic issues resulting as a result of this proposed use?
I would say it would be less with the reduction in the vehicles of the previous use. If you want to put the building back into use and into some kind of lends itself to a packaged goods store of some kind or something to that order, yes.
Do you think the proposed use would lead to any damage to any person or property?
Can't imagine that it would. I mean, yeah.
In your opinion, would the impact of this proposed store, if any, on the surrounding area be any greater at this location than in any other location in that zone?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Mr. Backel. Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
So you said something along the lines of less use than a convenience store or trip count?
Yes.
So I guess if you or Mr. Patel could define convenience store, because he does have convenience items in addition to the spirits and beverages. So he had talked about that.
I'm comparing it to the previous use of the property, in which was a sheet store
And gas station, I suppose.
and
you're
a
saying.
gas station, correct?
Okay.
Yes. You know, everybody certainly has been to the sheet store, and they offer multiple items.
When they just opened in Westminster a week or two ago, it was apparently a town holiday.
And one of the earlier questions in the line of thought was about compatibility with the surroundings. Could you please expand upon your affirmation that yes, it was compatible with the surrounding?
I'm referring to the downtown business zone and that it's a permitted use within, I believe it's a permitted use within that zone. I mean, it's business. It is a business. Whether we like it or not like it, it is a business.
So you're saying it's compatible in terms of a business with the Exxon, the New Windsor,
Yes.
the dental place? Okay.
Yes.
The nature of the question that you asked about the adverse effects on any citizens, what did you mean by that? That I assume kind of medical in nature or health-wise? I'm just not sure.
Traffic,
Okay.
public danger, and danger
Okay.
to the general public health.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions right now?
No.
So even if they're relatively obvious, still go down it?
So it's on the record.
All right. So even though some of the responses The 205-76 standards are obvious because of the nature of the plot, just to be official and have it on record. We're going to go down. So A is ingress and egress to the property. If someone can describe how that will work.
Addressing ingress and egress, if you will, as shown on your drawing.
Currently, the property can be accessed from either Trevanion Road or Maryland Route 40 by pedestrian sidewalks or by the road itself. Parking, approximately 15 spaces are available for parking. It's two-way traffic.
Okay. Refuse in service, where would garbage go?
There's a dumpster pad in the rear of the building now. I'm assuming that Mr. Patel will have a dumpster and a recycling center on site.
Okay.
Sites.
For the ingress egress, would there be a recommended entry exit, or would it be any of the three ways to get in?
I believe the building only has the front access.
I guess I'm thinking of the road that often people used as a cut through that goes out by the interim. Okay, which would be which?
Now if you go this way, it will be entry, let's say, and then if they want to come from that side, it will be entry from that side.
To my knowledge, you have no plans to change the road pattern, correct?
Okay.
There's no plan to change the road pattern that's there
The
now.
two-way in each entrance.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Utilities with reference to locations, availability, and compatibility?
Existing utilities.
Okay. Screening and buffering, dimensions, character, anything to
Nothing.
add or alter?
Nothing planned.
Okay. Signs, if any, proposed to exterior, lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, compatibility, harmony with properties in the district?
Maintain the current lighting that's on the building and the current sign that's at the corner on the 140 entrance of the building.
Subject to what we said earlier about the improvement.
Yes.
In the general.
Right, thanks.
Okay. Required yards and other open space, if someone can speak to the landscaping or the upkeep of the plat itself?
I think Mr. Patel testified earlier, but if I could try to clarify that. Obviously, they'll be cleaning up the existing landscaping and maintaining it since it'll be an active use.
Is the drainage area immediately behind? Who does that belong to? Your property, sir? Okay. So the maintenance of that would be on you, I assume, or him? Yeah. Okay.
That's all part of Lot 2.
Okay. So to contract the cutting and the trimming and the keeping back? Okay. All right, and then general compatibility with adjacent properties, that's already been spoken to, I believe. All righty. Closing statement to round things out for the applicant before we go to the zoning administrator.
You want to make a closing statement now or at the end of the case?
Go ahead and do so now, and then you'll get a chance, depending on, who shares, do rebuttal.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for being patient with us, and thank you, Mr. Bachtel, for your efforts. Mr. Chairman, you got an applicant that's interested in making a fairly significant investment right in the middle of your community for a property that's been vacant for 2 to 3 years, right next to other existing commercial establishments. You've heard testimony from the applicant about their plans for the property. You've heard expert testimony from Mr. Bachtel regarding the application and it meeting the standards for a special exception as set forth in your code. So I would submit to you generally, Mr. Chairman, that the application does in fact meet the requirements set forth in the city's ordinance for a special exception. I respectfully request it.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we'll now have the zoning administrator for Taneytown.
I really do not have much to add that has not already been covered. Just that the Planning Commission did review the application, and at their June 25th meeting, they did provide a favorable recommendation for the use at the site. Just a couple notes from the zoning perspective. This property is a bit larger than your typical downtown property, and it does, while there are dwellings nearby, it does not have the typical density of dwellings immediately adjacent to it as many downtown business properties do. The Sheetz, Exxon, Bank area is a bit of a different character than, say, the block that we're sitting in now, as far as density and the density of residential units. Let's see, we've already spoken to the trip generation and the impact being less than the former convenience store. Really nothing else to add.
So you were saying the density of the old Sheetz area is less than most other areas?
With regard to, yes, to residences nearby.
Okay.
Certainly there are a few across the street from the property, but it's largely bordered by other commercial uses, more so than your typical downtown parcel.
Okay. A follow-up question. The restrooms that are inside the building, would they be open to the public for use, or would they be closed off?
Restroom, yeah. Yeah, they'll open for the public.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for administrator, zoning administrator? Okay. So we're now going to move on to the public comment. We will keep public comments to less than 3 minutes. If you would like to go up and share thoughts, please let me know and sign in when you go up there. Thank you very much.
How you doing? I'm Jim Coyle, along with my wife, my daughter Kim, and a lot of employees. We run the liquor barn. And my biggest concern with another full beer, wine, liquor operation in the town of Taneytown, which we all know population is small, is going to have a great effect on my business and my employees. And they're the ones that I'm most worried about. I'm old. I'll survive this thing. But I got a lot of good people that work for me that live in this town, spend their money in this town, send their kids and their grandkids to the schools and the communities in this town, and I like to keep them employed. And that's what they expect me to do every morning when I open that door, is to keep them employed and keep them working. Now, 90% of them are part-time, but a lot of them's been with me 6, 10, a couple of them been 17, 18 years. And I want to keep that going. And as small as the community is, we got 2 full-blown liquor stores out on 194. We got a beer, wine right across the street from the location that is being requested to change. And then I'm in the shopping center. We have vacant buildings up there. So you know it's a small community. It's tough to do business in this community. And unless we get an influx of 10,000 people, because it's one liquor license per 5,000 people, we've already got 3 stores and a half with the beer wine. So you're looking at 15 to 20,000 people of population. I think Taneytown's in the 9,100 neighborhood. So that's going to be a big effect on my operation. And that's the only thing I got to complain about. Nothing against Mr. Patel, nothing against Mr. Martin. I understand wanting to fill a vacant store. We got them up in the shopping center vacant that they've been trying to fill and can't get filled. But I want to keep my employees working. I want to keep my business going the way it's been going. and I don't see another need for a full beer, wine, liquor in Taneytown. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
My name is Kim Carter. I'm Jim's daughter. I work at the Liquor Barn. Of course, we are opposed to this store coming in for all the same reasons that he mentioned. And we'll get into this more at the liquor hearing, but there's some questionable, how this has all come about, there's a lot of questions, and it doesn't seem like it's been so forthright. And for one of the things you've talked about, this is a good fit. Well, we're in an appeal meeting, so obviously there was a reason why this property wasn't zoned for liquor stores in the first place. So I'm wondering what that reason was and what has changed to make it suddenly now a good spot for a liquor store. And then is it Mr. Patel's testimony that he's not going to have anything to do with the liquor store, that you're just the real estate manager? Because that's not my understanding. So that's another question I have. And as far as it being needed in town, I have 500 signatures of town residents saying they don't see a need for it, that there are 1,000 other things that they see a need for in this town. 1,000, well, there's 20 on the list of things that it's zoned for already that would be good fits. They don't understand why there would be another liquor store when we're already legally saturated and have the other stores to meet the need.
Does anyone have an accurate count on the population of Taneytown currently?
Was it 70 something?
I thought it was like 7,200.
About 71, 7,200.
Okay.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
I think it's closer to 9,700 from what we've heard from the liquor board.
So does it matter to you all to get clarity about real estate versus who actually is running it or anything like that?
That's what I would like to know. I would like
Okay,
the
so
clarity.
can you all explain the purchase, like, who are the players? Like, what's it structured like?
There are 4 investors in the real estate entity. Mr. Patel is one of those. They each own 25%.
Okay. The other 3, from where do they come?
From where do they come?
Yeah, are they all Westminster people?
Yes, York and Westminster. Yes.
Okay.
The liquor entity, I think, is going to be 2. That might be subject to change, but I think the current plan is going to be 2 members of that entity. And there's some family relationships involved.
Family with?
With the real estate entity, but there will be separate entities with separate ownership.
Okay. So the 2, I assume the 2 owners are dealing with the liquor license?
That's correct.
Okay, they're just not here because this is the real estate
Correct.
portion of it. Got it. Okay. Any other individuals for public comment?
I'm Ken Kazmarski. I'm the owner of the Exxon station at 251 East Baltimore Street. My comment to it would be in reference to, obviously, a need. We're not as busy as I'd like to be now, and in fact, business is slowing in the beer business. But the second comment I have is about traffic. And if you try to exit my facility between 3 and 6 in the evening, it's a long wait. Traffic actually will back up from Antrim Boulevard, where the light is, almost to the next light. I think it's back at Carroll Street. And you can sit and wait, and I would presume that with a package store, the busiest times of the day are going to be coming home. So in fact, there may not be a general, during the course of the day, impact of traffic, but I think at high traffic times, that in fact it would be a pretty significant impact. When Sheets was there, obviously it was higher traffic, but it was a bigger problem, and the problem has just compounded over time as more and more people travel through Taneytown going to the surrounding communities. So I think maybe some additional insight into what the actual traffic pattern times are might be something that needs to be addressed. And I thank you for your consideration. And you know, it is, as Jim said, I employ upwards of 20 people in my store with the subway that's there, with the gasoline and the convenience store facility. So it impacts them every time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else for public comment?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Bradley Wance, City Councilman, member of the board of the Planning Commission here as well. There's been a lot of outcry against the idea of the liquor store. I don't particularly care to speak to or against for that reason, only because a lot of it's been said if you follow social media or see them holding signs out in front of the property. I do want to encourage you, however, to consider limiting access on all of the exits and entrances on that property. Currently, it's being used by people with a lead foot to skip the traffic light at Trevanion Road. Something to consider is to make it either an exit or an entrance on Trevanion, just to avoid that sort of issue. You're just going to be encouraging more people in and out of that parking lot, 'cause that's how they use it now. That's my only recommendation is the rear entrance or exit on Trevanion Road. Just make it one or the other, but don't allow two-way traffic through that, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, so we will go to, we'll round out the public comment. We're done with that portion. And now we'll have opportunity for rebuttal by applicant to any of the points that were raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very, very briefly. I just want to note, because I didn't know that before, the favorable recommendation from your Planning Commission. I also want to point out, this is an existing license, and it's going to be sold. And if it's not sold to my clients for this location, it's going to be sold to somebody, and it's going to be located somewhere in the first election district of Carroll County, which is Taneytown West, basically. So, just so that's clear to the board. The property this does require conditional use or special exceptions, not a permitted use. I'm sure Mr. Martin would have loved to sell it to any of those folks who could have put in a permitted use over the last 2 or 3 years, but they have not been forthcoming. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for them before we go?
What is this? She wanted to know what the existing writing is that they need to appeal.
Okay, it's in.
Remember when she has that?
Yeah. Good guy. We're gonna get to one of the questions that was asked and then throw it to the zoning administrator to explain the appeal, why the word appeal, conditional use, if you can lay that framework out for the person who asked.
Alcoholic beverage package stores are considered a special exception use in every district where they are allowed currently in the city. The majority of text that specifies what businesses are allowed where begins in the downtown business district, and then the general business district out by the shopping center out towards the traffic circle basically takes that same list and then expands on it a little bit. But the businesses that are permitted by special exception use in the downtown district that same process carries over to the general business district. So if someone were to try to open another packaged goods store in the general business district, they would be before the board just as well as the downtown district. It's a number of uses that perhaps they're polarizing to the community, and having it go before the board gives the community an opportunity to testify and find out what's going on with it, more so than just coming in getting a zoning certificate.
Please let me know if I'm speaking out of turn. 205-19, an example of some of the items that are already zoned. There's A, home furnishings and accessories, so furniture, dishes, china, kitchen stores, bed bath. It goes down about 11 items. Well, that includes other similar uses. Then B is special interests like arts and crafts, sporting goods, toys, collectibles, science, antiques. C is consignment and other shops, similar to that. D, gifts and specialty like books, newspapers, baby supply, imports, jewelry, florist. And then also E is food sales, candy stores, bakery, grocery, health food, butcher, yogurt, food service, restaurants without liquor, pubs, bars that also serve food and provide entertainment, fast food, home appliances with 5, clothing and accessories with 5, personal service up to 12. And then it has other retail, including fitness, tailor shops, theaters. There's financial and employment, that's K, mortgage services, consultants, yada, yada. And then we get to C, which this hearing is addressing. And some of the items there would be child care and adult care centers. We often have had child care come through. Churches, synagogues, other places of worship, video arcade, amusement centers, appliance stores, carpenter shops, department stores. 6 is alcoholic beverage package stores, pet shops, vets. So those are all in that special exception need. Just to share. All right, so we'll close out the public hearing portion, and we're moving on to deliberation by board. So if each member can express your opinion and reason for it for the record.
Want me to start?
If you'd like to, sir.
As well. Ron, as much as I'd like to see you sell that place, I know you've been waiting patiently for a long time. You put on a good show. Everyone here is quite decent. It's nice to meet you, and Randy, I've seen you a few times before. You did a good presentation. But it's been mentioned before, we've already got 3 full package stores in this area. There's probably 6, 7 maybe places where you can walk in off the street and buy a beverage if you care to. I just cannot, in any way, as much as I've thought about this the past month, say yes to this. I will have to vote no.
Okay. Sir?
The main thing I've got is the need for another liquor store in the city of Taneytown. As they had mentioned before, we've got 2 out the road, and we've got 2 of them in town already. And this would be within walking distance of a lot more people in this surrounding area. So I just don't know whether we should have one or not. I just beat myself up on it. I don't know.
For me, when I was reading the code in preparation for this earlier today, the 205-19, the first item, A, intent, provide logical locations for retail services, and I underline needed by neighborhood populations. With everything that exists right now, and with a plethora of convenience items, chips, cigarettes, you can get those, Kinney's Food Line, a lot of places in town, I'm feeling like we just don't need it in the middle where it's so close to where everybody's living. So that's where I am. And then also that list that I read earlier, I am truly hopeful that maybe someone from one of the other options does get this from you, because I know it's been a while, so I'm sorry. Kessel?
I agree with the other people for various reasons. I think it's a potential there for loitering because it's so easily accessible by foot. And all the bright lighting. I think it would lend to partying, people pulling up beside each other and talking and partying where the shopping center doesn't have that. The bright lighting concerns me, the new LED lighting for the brighter lights on the outside. I don't think it's compatible with the area, the existing area. To quote you, you said you're going to have this liquor store right in the middle of your community. That was a quote, and that grabbed me in the stomach. I thought, wow, everything that I'm just negative saying is going to be right in the middle of my community. So a lot of these reasons are personal, and another thing, the public restrooms. I see that as a giant problem. I do. So I say no.
Yes, I'm sorry I was a little late and worked late today, but apologize for that. That part of town is pretty much the central part of town, and as you're driving through here, and I live on this end of town, and you know, it's been vacant for a couple of years, and the building looks a little tough at this point in time, right? It's just empty and sitting there. There's weeds growing everywhere, and
Shouldn't be. I've been paying to have it mowed.
okay.
I've been paying to have it
You
taken
bet.
care of.
Yeah. And so, putting a package store there in town, I don't see as a potential problem with littering, you know, open public restrooms. It's just, it's not what I'd like to see in the middle of town, you know? So my answer is no. Yeah.
All right, so it seems like there's momentum behind not granting the special exception. Is there anybody who would make a motion to not grant the exception?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Ebal has made a motion to deny. Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, which is to deny the special exception, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. So it will not be granted the special exception at this session.